Welcome! You are listening to RiaTalk for Real People, the official podcast for the Marrying Kind Inc., where we're always keeping it real regarding love, families, and relationships with a biblical perspective. Here's your host, Maria.
Hi! Hello, everybody. Hello.
Okay, so we were talking the other day about forgiveness and the ability to forgive. And I just kind of wanted to jump right into that, talking about forgiveness and what is forgiveness and how do you incorporate that in your relationship?
Well, forgiveness means to forgive. When someone has wronged you or they have done things to hurt you, to injure you, and you release them of the liability or the consequences of, I don't want to say consequences. You release them of the liability because you have not a great deal to do with the consequences, because a lot of that is up to God, or some people like to call the universe, karma. But you in your heart, you let it go without wanting to get revenge on that person.
How important is forgiveness in relationships?
I'm sorry. I feel like I'm having a sneeze. I apologize.
That's okay.
Forgiveness in relationship is paramount. I mean, without forgiveness, your relationship will not last. You must forgive because humans, we're frail creatures. We're fallen creatures. We make bad decisions sometimes. All of us make bad choices, and we injure the people we love the most. And we all gonna need a little bit of forgiveness, a little bit of understanding at some point in our relationship. So if you want to have a long-lasting marriage, you gotta be good on that forgiveness end of it. Letting it go. I'm not telling you like some people say, forgive and forget. Hey, you don't have Alzheimer's. You're not going to forget it, but you're going to forget the pain that's associated with it. That is forgiveness. It takes time to release the pain that's associated with it. Your process is your process. No one can push you into saying, many of us, because we want to forgive people, especially a spouse, when they have wronged us, either in an affair or whatever, because a spouse can wrong you more than just an affair. But I just say an affair because that's what most people can relate to most easily, most readily. And so forgiveness is very important. In fact, it is an ingredient in a marriage that you can't live without. You can't be in a marriage without forgiveness. You can really not be in any relationship without forgiveness.
Mm-hmm. But what about things that are unforgivable? Like what is an unforgivable, transgression?
Forgiving the unforgivable?
Yeah. Well, what is something that would be unforgivable? And then how do you forgive the unforgivable?
Forgiving the unforgivable could be, for example, just imagine you're married and your husband just had sex with your sister, mm-hmm. or with your first cousin, mm-hmm. or with another close family members. Mm-hmm. For me, that would be unforgivable. Mm-hmm. I would never forgive my sister. I would never forgive my husband. Mm-hmm. Now, they say never, mm-hmm. but I'm just saying that is the unforgivable.
Okay.
Or your husband, you come home and he has a stranger in your bed, mm-hmm. and they've been meeting every month for the last 6 months in your bedroom, mm-hmm. and you're like, if he was going to cheat, he should not ever even cheat in the house. And when he was cheating in the house, he had the children in the house with him. For most people, that would be unforgivable. Mm-hmm. So you say, how do you forgive the unforgivable? Mm-hmm. I don't know. All I know, you're going to have to take it to God in prayer, mm-hmm. and let the process, everything is a process. If you want to forgive, some things you don't have the strength to forgive it in yourself. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to go to a higher power. You're going to have to maybe even go through marital counseling or through a Christian counselor to help you to let it go and release it to God, mm-hmm. and God to heal that wound, because that person has wounded you. So behavior like that can almost be a mortal wound. Some people want to commit suicide when they find that their spouse has been having sex with their mother or with their sister and maybe even their brother. That is the unforgivable.
See, I was thinking along the lines of like when you have a partner and maybe a child has died while in the care of one of the spouses, that there's a lot of guilt and a lot of anger in that. How do you forgive something like that? Because having a child die during a marriage, that can break up a marriage in itself.
And oftentimes it does. Everybody, and sometimes you don't even know that you can't forgive it. But every time you see that person, you feel a little bit of hatred. You feel, I'm laughing because I felt that when I said it, you feel something negative. Like you say, I'm feeling some kind of way, not good.
Right.
And when we say feeling some kind of way, it's always not good. And so, I just don't know how humans can forgive the unforgivable. You have to go from the natural, which we're just natural creatures, we're humans, into the supernatural. And the only way we can go into the supernatural is with our supernatural God. And we got to ask God, help me to forgive this person, because in myself, I will never forgive this person. If you live long enough, you're going to be betrayed. Everybody going to have betrayal. You may be the one that betrayed someone. And at some point you will be betrayed. Because that's the nature of living in this life. I heard Oprah say this one time, but I've heard many people say it since. We are spiritual beings having human experiences. And one of these human experiences is betrayal. And like you said, the child, even not with the child being injured in the care of a parent, for the parent that was not there, they may find it unforgivable at the time, because grief is a cycle. Like they say, the stages of grief. And once a parent has gone through her grieving cycle, believe it or not, you can go through all the cycles of grief. You will always miss your child, but you will no longer grieve them. You'll find it may take many, 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 and it will take many, many years. You won't forget the child, but you will find that you can laugh again. And I say this with tears in my eyes because I've had a loved one to die, very close family members. And we never forgive them. We never forget them. I'm sorry. We never forget them. But I do know my stage of grief is over. I would never forget her. I always remember her. But it doesn't hurt so much anymore. I can laugh again. When she first died.
That's okay. Take your time.
When she first died, maybe a whole year, I did not want to laugh. I didn't want to see anything happy. Because she was not there anymore.
Right.
God, help us to forgive. God, help us to... Once one of the disciples asked Jesus, he said, Master, teach us how to pray. And within that prayer, he says, forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. Other translations has said, forgive us our debts as we forgive those. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And so that tells you it is part of the human condition to be be betrayed, to be hurt, to have unforgivable. If you live long enough, you will experience trying to decide, how do I forgive the unforgivable? I don't know. You may need counseling. I would find a Christian professional, because I'm coming from a biblical perspective. I would say, if you're a Christian, you would want to find Christian counselors, because they would talk to you on a spiritual level. Because to forgive the unforgivable, someone has hurt you to maybe not even to your soul, because they can hurt you so much. It can pierce through the soul and change your spirit. And how do you forgive that? Only God can help. And even that takes time for someone.
We can take a minute here.
No. Even that take time to hear God's spirit, and to be, God will allow situations to happen that would allow you in time to move on. And sometimes you can move on with that person, like with your spouse, and sometimes maybe you can't. But even if you can't move on with that person, you still must forgive. And however it happens, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It may not even happen in a year, maybe not even 2 years. But keep praying, keep seeking help on a spiritual level, to ask God to help you to forgive the unforgivable.
And that's a great segue into what I was getting ready to ask you. I was going to ask you, if someone's in that spot currently right now, and they are trying to see the light, they're trying to get past, what would be the first step? What would you tell them is the first step to make that move into forgiving the unforgivable? Should they break everything off, or should they go seek counseling first?
I would suggest to them to first start with a prayer.
Okay. We
often are praying even when we don't know, we're not conscious, on a conscious level. We're praying about things oftentimes on a subconscious level. But bring it to your consciousness and be intentional, and maybe even get on your knees as a sign to yourself and to your mind that, God, I really need you. I need your help. I don't want to stay in this state of anger and hurt and bitterness. I need you to help me to find a way to forgive this person, to move on, whatever I need to do. But start with God and end with God. He will guide you to the right resources you need, whether that's counseling, books. Start reading books on. I would always say, we're in a technological age. I always say YouTube forgiveness. Listen to ministers like T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen's. They speak a lot on forgiveness, and they will help encourage your spirit and lift your spirit. Just seek out scriptures that talks about forgiveness. And here's another thought that comes to my mind. Think of the wrongs you have done to people, and that you regret, and you want them to forgive you for the wrongs you have done. And that makes it a little more easy for you to see the humanity. When you see your own frailty and the wrongs you've done to people, and you want some understanding, some forgiveness, it helps you to be a little more forgiving about others. Those are the steps that I would take in my process, in my journey of forgiveness.
So I don't want to keep going on about this, because I feel like it's a very touchy subject. So this episode would be a little short. But what is one thing that you want the listeners to take away from this? I
want the listener to know This is a very heavy subject. You could be frustrated. You're definitely in a lot of hurt. If you are in that stage of your life, a moment in your life where you need to forgive the unforgivable, it can make you feel alone, lonely, overwhelmed. I would say to you, get support. Get support from friends. Get support. Be proactive in your own healing. Mm-hmm. When you keep bitterness and negativity in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, I think it creates cancer cells in your body and you start to get sick. Mm-hmm. So forgive not for the other person. Forgive to heal yourself so you can move on with your life and you can live your best life.
Okay, guys, that's it for RiaTalk, for real people, where we're always keeping it real regarding love, families, and relationships. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms, on Instagram at I Am The Marrying Kind, and our Facebook page, The Marrying Kind Inc. Also, you can get this podcast on Spreaker.com, iTunes, and the Google Play Store. Lastly, we want to hear from you guys. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding relationships or families, let us know. You can DM us on Instagram with your questions or comments, and we will discuss it on our podcast. Until next time, we'll see you later.